Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello to everyone who may be watching us live right now. Welcome to Theater 444's Backstage Pass into the Tempest. My name is Greg. I'll be your host for the evening, and I am a Theater 444 enthusiast. So whether you are watching live with us or checking back later, we hope you'll enjoy the next few minutes as we hear about everything that went into producing The Tempest virtually, which is a perfect segue into my very first question for Theater 444's artistic director, Pam Raposa. Theater 444, if you don't know, producing theater organization based in Geneva, New York. Pam, this is the first production that Theater 444 has produced 100% virtually. You did a live stream, but this was different.
Yeah.
So what went into your decision to produce a show this way, and specifically The Tempest?
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting because our vocabulary has expanded about what theater is, right? So, this time last year, we were planning a whole bunch of things. We had a full season planned. We were so excited. And Nick, our director here, had planned to do Romeo and Juliet last summer. And so we were excited to put some Shakespeare in our portfolio because we're a fairly young group, and we were excited to add that to our portfolio. And of course, we had to cancel because of all of the things that were happening. And so we wrestled really with how do you do theater in this time when we can't go into a theater? What do we do? And we were able to put together Daddy Longlegs in the fall and stream it live because there were only 2 people in the cast. It was a rather perfect kind of scenario for pandemic theater. So it worked out really well, but that was a whole different scenario. Then when we finished that show, we were like, now what are we going to do? Because not every show has 2 actors in it. And we didn't want to relegate ourselves to that. So Nick called me and he was bummed about summer and said, man, I really want to do something crazy and he told me about The Tempest and his idea about delivering props right to people's homes. And I was like, well, let's do it. Let's just try it. And Nick, jump in anytime. Again, we wanted to put some Shakespeare into our portfolio. So this was actually a perfect opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And I just know that so many of us who were involved with this just needed to do something creative and have a sense of community. And I wanted to share that with people who don't have something like theater in their lives, that they would still feel engaged with this, like they're a part of the show, they're interacting with it on some level, and having an experience. I think a lot of times watching Zoom theater can be a really passive, sort of inherently alienating activity. But through being able to chat and send in pictures of yourself all dressed up and play along with the party games, I think there were a lot of ways to make people feel just as involved as the cast. And I know what I needed at that time.
Well, and I think we learned a lot doing Daddy Longlegs because we were surprised. I know Garrett maybe can chime in on this. We were surprised how much energy we were getting from our audience, and that people were making such a huge effort to reach out to us and tell us that they were there. And gosh, I hope theater stays like that. I hope that people continue to tell us they're there and that they're having a great time, because it was awesome to have that reality. And this was even more exciting. So
yeah, absolutely. It was both with Daddy Longlegs and with this show, the buzz that you felt from the crowd was exceptional, because when we do shows in person, you get that buzz when you see people walk in the door at intermission, and then after the show they tell you what a great job or mediocre job you did, depending on who you are. But it was interesting. We had a chat window so we could see real-time interactions the whole time. It was pretty cool.
Something that made this production especially unique, even more unique than simply being virtual, was the incorporation of a party box, which is something that you devised, right, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, there were some things that I was influenced in creating it, but to kind of go through the show and figure out, all right, how do you take this 400-year-old play and decide which parts are prime for adding something that can be interactive and usually tasty for the audience at home to sort of lighten it up. And I think alcohol and sugar were really two big draws right there.
There's so much sugar involved. I loved it because I love sugar, but I was by the end of the Tempest, I was like, when like.
Someone wrote in the chat box during the show, Theater 444, do you send the fairies to get me off the couch after this? Because I'm like bloated from all the sugar.
You should have tried to get the Tempest sponsored by a dentist or something.
The Tempest dentist. That's hard to say. But yeah, I think that, again, those are the kinds of things that people have really just been craving through this whole experience that we've all been having for the past year, 2 years, however long it's been, 7 years, I don't know. I know just going door to door and delivering party boxes, it was like Santa Claus was coming to town. People were so happy and excited when they saw these show up. And many people opened them in front of me or sent me pictures afterwards of having opened them. And sometimes they would be sort of humoring me, like out of politeness. Oh, look, we've got our box. How fun. And within 2 seconds, the lei was on their neck. The whistle was in their mouth. They're opening candy already. And they forgot I was even there. Right. And I think people just need that kind of joy and sense of, hey, good things can still show up on your doorstep. And there are people still being creative and having fun. And that's really a lot of what the goals of this production were. Yeah, there were a lot of rebels who did their food out of order. I have some friends who are real popcorn fans who just immediately popped it right during the opening drink mixing video. It was gone. So.
Pam, is there anything else you wanted to share about the party boxes, or should we?
Yeah, I mean, so those pictures that I showed were prior to the show even starting, and these pictures that I'm going to show you now are our audience during the performance, and what a great time they were having. I personally loved this picture right here. Is my favorite, and mostly because we have children watching and enjoying Shakespeare.
Quite a few. I heard one message from a mom who her kids were having a great time. She got the party box and they decided not to go the mocktail route, but her kids were having a fantastic time running to the cupboards for each scene and seeing what alternates they could put together and make their own like soda mixes. And they were just having a great time being creative and engaging with it, which I just think is fantastic. Yeah. Multiple pets were dressed up during this too.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And the chat box was certainly a hoot to follow along with. So we just had a great time the nights of the show with our audience, and we're so thankful that they had such a great time too.
Yes, and our fantastic fairies who were moderating the box, and they had little jokes and Tempest trivia, and they would interact with the audience members. They were fantastic.
Yeah, it was great.
I also want to just give a special shout out to whoever determined the playlist throughout the entire evening. It was awesome. I live alone, and I was dancing around my kitchen the entire time.
That was literally the goal. Thank you, Greg. I'm so glad it was successful.
I tuned in a half hour before the show started, and I danced the whole time. I wasn't even drinking that evening.
Greg, I thought you were going to mention this.
Oh, Alex's video.
Yes.
I know
Alex's,
you love that.
mixology videos were an excellent warm-up into what we were going to watch. They were fantastic. Pam, are those posted anywhere? Because people should simply watch Alex's drink videos.
It's on YouTube.
Is it on YouTube?
It's on YouTube. I can send you the link, Pam, if you want to post it.
Fantastic.
Let's do that. Let's put it right into
I think it's worth it. They were so entertaining.
I think he was a cross between Bob Ross and the Swedish Chef. It was so entertaining.
So, Nick, thinking about directing the show, of course, there must have been differences directing virtually compared to in person. So what do you think were maybe the top 2 or 3 biggest differences or challenges that you faced as a director in this virtual format?
Well, I think the first one was probably helping everyone to get on board with how much more responsibility they were going to have on each end. I mean, every single actor had to be their own costumer, set designer. They had to be their own stage manager, not to, knock how much work Mackie was doing, because that was a full-time, incredible job. But there's nobody to hand them their props in their bedroom, right? So all of these things they had to be responsible for themselves. They had to be their own tech troubleshooter in many ways. So getting them on board and say relinquishing some control and saying, you know what, here are some suggestions for your costumes and go for it. Show me what you got. Have fun. Be creative. This is all part of building your character and building your world and something creative to do. And I really just commend the cast with how far they ran with all of this. They were all just such creative, fantastic people. It was just fun to see what everyone came up with. So I guess that would be one. Another one would probably be learning a new language for acting, and I think the actors will probably talk more to this. But it's very different than both acting on stage and traditional acting for the camera. Usually, when you perform on stage, you perform to the back of the house, right? And there are things about the way you command the stage and your presence, but this medium tends to be an equalizer. Everyone has the same amount of focus and the same amount of stage presence, and some of those tricks that work on stage don't read as well on camera. And on camera, a lot of times you want to be very subtle because you have these big close-ups. And again, when everyone's in these weird little boxes and they're just a strange bust that never moves, how do you keep that alive? How do you keep it fresh and not feel like a business meeting where everyone's half paying attention, right? So keeping it so the actors never look fully dead, right? Thinking if instead of spotlighting a person or zooming in on them, they have to kind of do their own close-ups at times. Even where they focus their eyes matter. And then, of course, everything is in reverse. It's mirrored on screen. So
Blake was so good at using the camera.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I mean, one of my directions to them at one point was to flirt with the camera. Regardless of what they're doing, just look straight at that camera and flirt with the camera the whole time. Since they can't connect with an audience, that's the way. Yes. I mean, look at that. They really did such a fantastic job. These are so alive and full of personality. So I guess those are two big ones right now, and more I'm sure will come rolling as they go, because this was a very different world.
Yeah, well, thank you. And so Garrett and Sean, you helped partially create what Nick was just sharing about navigating a virtual world where everyone is essentially the same size, or in a box, not necessarily the same size, because you used Skype to creatively place people on the screen, which is different than some Zoom theater, if anyone has seen productions in Zoom before. So Garrett and Sean, can you talk to us a little bit about your decision to use Skype and sort of what you learned through that process?
That's all Garrett.
So we learned that Zoom, is wonderful as it is, doesn't allow some of the capabilities that Skype has. So Skype was allowing me to pull individual video feeds from each actor, so that I could control them a lot easier using my broadcast software, which took a lot of time to set up. Yep, you can see there we've got, how many screens is that? 5 different screens going in that picture. Yeah,
between the sound stuff and the video stuff, we were running 5 screens and 2 desks.
5 screens, 2 desks. It was really crazy, but the fun part for us was Sean was controlling all the sound and making sure I stayed on track with all the video switches, because similar to theater with like lights, we have a lot of different looks, was what we call them. With this, we had so many different scenes and so many characters leaving and entering the scenes that I had over 109 different looks in this show, which is unbelievable. So it was very, very fun to have to set all that up and keep it visually interesting.
Speaking of visually interesting, I have a video I can show you of some of Garrett's work that I think is stellar. Let's watch that.
By whose aid I have bedimmed the noontide sun, called forth the mutinous winds. Have I made shake graves at my command, and waked their sleepers, oaked and let them forth by my so potent art. But this rough magic I here abjure. And when I have required some heavenly music, which even now I do, I'll break my staff, buried certain fathoms in the earth, and deeper than did ever plummet sound. I'll drown my book.
Excuse my poor, like, cell phone, recording the screen. Like that was just me with my cell phone. That's why it's all shaky and weird. But
that can't happen on Zoom. So
No.
Right.
that can't happen really without Garrett.
Yeah.
You give me too much credit.
Well,
it
You
really
don't get
was
enough
fun.
credit, Garrett. There's no credit, and Sean too. Obviously, you two were just wizards.
I will say there was a lot of Nick during rehearsals going, "Oh yeah, why don't we do this?" And Garrett just goes, "Yes." And then once we're done with the rehearsal, Garrett and I look at each other. How the heck are we going to pull that one off?
That did happen a couple times, but hey, I think we pulled everything through. Nick has some wonderful creative ideas, and they challenge me sometimes, which is awesome. But it's definitely a lot of research was spent on a lot of this show, just because it was something we'd never done before, and it's not something that a lot of people have done before. So it was, hey, let's try this and hope it works.
and just know that also, like, the actors don't really realize what's going on. So like they're backstage right now and they're all like, what's this? They didn't even realize what was happening on the screen while that was happening. They didn't know there was music with it, and they didn't know there was, so they just didn't know. So it's kind of interesting too to think about them having to deal with not being able to know fully what was actually happening.
Yeah, there was a lot of, don't worry, it looks great in the stream. Don't worry about what you see, what you hear. Everything is good.
Yeah, and a lot of just waiting for sound cues that they would never hear, and just getting, just timing it out in their heads what they had to do, and then respond to something that the audience could clearly hear, but they couldn't.
Yeah, so that was actually fun. I'll talk a little bit about that. The scene, if you saw the show where Ariel and the spirits are singing, the actors actually couldn't hear that. So Caliban, Matt, was just kind of on screen, just waiting for me to give him the verbal go-ahead to say his lines. So every night he'd just kind of wait for 45 seconds until I said, hey, let's go. And then he would say his lines, and then we'd wait another 30, 45 seconds, and then I'd say go again. And so it was really kind of cool to have that control and just trust between the actors and me and Sean.
Mackenzie, you were the stage manager for the production, and I know when we did the interview before the show, your sort of role as a stage manager was evolving. How did it turn out on the weekend of the performance? What exactly did you do?
Not as much as I was used to. It was a lot of checking everyone was there and on time, and sounds, and making sure everyone had everything that they needed, rehearsal wise, or making sure that they were set up with props, or checking their backgrounds. But even that was complicated because Skype didn't like how many people we had in the call. So it got weird trying to juggle everybody and see who was where and if I could actually see them or not. So it really was a struggle still. Yep. Exactly.
Skype, weirdness.
Good old Skype.
Cast meeting backstage right there.
Just so we're clear, that is not what the cast was looking at during the run.
Well, tech team, thank you for joining us tonight to give us a little insight into how it happened. Congratulations. It was so much fun to watch. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and it looks like people commenting in the chat enjoyed themselves as well. We have some cast members to chat with, so we're gonna change up the room and hear from them, but join us again for another Theater 444 production, please.
I'm going to show a little video of one of the scenes while we swap out. See everybody later.
Sounds great.
Oh, the master, the swabber, the boatswain and mate loved Moll, Meg, and Marjorie, but none cared for Kate. For she had a tongue with a tang, would cry to those sailors, go hang! She loved not the savour of tar nor of pitch, but a tailor might scratch her where'er she did itch. This is a scurvy tune. Proceed, boys, and let her go hang. Oh, do not torment me. What's the matter? Have we devils here? Oh, I have not escaped drowning to be afeard of your 4 legs. The spirit torments me. Oh, this is some monster of the Isle. Ugh. How the devil should he learn our language? I will keep him tame and get to Naples with him, for he is a present for any emperor that ever trod.
Yay!
Welcome, cast members. Thank you for joining us tonight for this special backstage pass into the Laura Lee, I'm a little disappointed that you don't have a mustache in real life.
Oh, it's the pandemic. I do. But you little enhancer, you bring it out, and I don't have Jake's mustache game though. But I do have aspirations now, and it's good to have dreams.
There was quite the facial hair arms race during the course of this production.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was the addition of like more and more curl. Yeah, I know the viewers. Oh good God. The viewers at home are dying to know, so I'll tell my secret is that I use eyeliner on. I like darkened my actual mustache, and then I drew the curls with like I don't know what, some like marker.
I used eyeliner too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the whole cast had to be their own makeup crew. I mean, Olivia did some beautiful stuff as Miranda, and then, of course, Hayden as Ariel had this makeup game on this whole other level.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Lovers.
Well, is this the first time you're seeing these pictures, or have you seen what it all looks like before?
My husband watched one night, so when I wasn't in a scene, I did run downstairs frantically, but quietly and appropriately to watch some of it, and it was delightful. But I have not seen all of it, so to speak.
Well, I hope you will get to see it because truly, I know you just heard everybody talking about it, but there were some really cool moments that happened, brought about by all of you and the whole team. And I guess that being said, now that we've been through the whole process, how did this show weekend compare with sort of a typical pre-pandemic show weekend in the way that, I mean, normally, you might celebrate after a show, but this time you just kind of click off your computer screen or something and you disappear. And of course, the audience is at home and not with you in the theater. The sort of call time functioned differently, mic checks, everything. So whatever you want to share with us, I'd be interested in hearing about your experience.
I will say that was a very sad moment after the last show when we were all together online for the last time. And it was like, okay, who's going to leave first? Like, what do I say? Bye, I guess. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah, we don't get that closure when we've never actually even been in the same room as one another.
And I was just how impressed with how close this cast became, even though most of you have never seen each other like in 3D, or that the other people have feet even sometimes, and yet there was this really strong bond and just a real joy to be present with all of you.
Now, that's interesting. What do you think helped you establish that bond, being computer screens apart, even states apart? Because Jake, you're all the way in Oregon?
Yeah. Portland, Oregon. Yeah, well, I think Laura Lee and I early on somehow good casting on Nick's part, but to pair us up, like, I feel like we both want to be cartoons. And so, yeah, ideally Muppets, yeah. And
I'm interrupting because I have such a good video of the two of you I have to show right now.
Oh no.
And it's really neither of you even are even talking, but it just shows how in sync they were, and they're in two different states.
And I should also mention, many times the actors aren't even able to really see each other as they're performing, because to look at your camera is what makes it look like they have eye contact, but their windows are in a different place. So they've got to really be listening and really be looking out of the corner of their eye, and yet these two who are on different ends of the country are still like one brain. It's incredible.
Prosper. And to thee, I bid a hearty welcome. Whether thou beest some enchanted trifle to amuse me, I not know. Since I saw thee, my mind amends. Thy dukedom I restore, and do entreat thou pardon me my wrongs. But how should Prospero be living and be here? Yet do you taste some subtleties of the isle that will not let you believe things said. But you, my lords, were I so minded, I here could justify you traitors.
Nice.
Yeah, I love that crap. I just love it. The cartoon, I don't know, it delights me so much. And yeah, you're right, Nick. There was a lot of like looking here and trying to like sense it, but I don't know, for me, I guess, because we were the clowns, we were able to like move around more, and it was a bit easier to like catch out of the corner of my eye.
Yeah. Yep, I concur. Like, I think there was also a lot of trust that you always have to have on stage, but in particular in this medium. And so what I appreciated so much about, working with Jake is that we didn't have to, go off and have our own dialogue somewhere about like, okay, we're going to do this and this and this. I just want you to know I don't respond well to the eyebrow raise and, stuff like that. Instead, like, we could just feed off each other and trust that the other person is going to pick up what, you're laying down and go with it. Like with our salute, we worked that out. And again, it was just nonverbal. It was all doing everything we could to connect and stay focused.
Yeah.
It was very successful. I mean, you were easily, I feel like, fan favorites because of the chemistry you had, and because you got to be so cartoony. I mean, you were very fun to watch.
Yeah, we're gonna be in the Chippendale Rescue Ranger movie. I think they're good. They're like John Mulaney, and I'm sorry, it's our turn. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And I guess speaking about finding connection with your scene partners, Olivia, your character is one who has to fall in love instantly, as Shakespearean lovers do. And Disney, I guess in most movies, it's sort of love at first sight, right? But perhaps started by Shakespeare because he is, in fact, one of the oldest. So, Olivia, what was your experience like in these romantic scenes virtually? Was it like being on Tinder or what?
I should probably not talk about my Tinder experiences. I will say, honestly, it was really easy. And I think it's because the cast was so good and so welcoming. Something I realized quite literally, like, I think the day of the last show or the day right before that was that everybody in this cast like knew each other already. And I was like, wait, you guys knew each other? I was like, I didn't know anyone. And I think Jake was the only one who was like, yeah, well, I only knew one other person. And I thought, like, that was mind-blowing to me because I felt like definitely on the same level as everyone else and in the same playing field and totally welcomed. Like, it definitely didn't seem like I was stepping into a room full of people who knew each other and not me. It was like Nick was talking about, there's just such a great relationship between everybody. It was super easy to make friends with everyone, so it was super easy to act with them. Like, it really never was awkward or weird. One of the easiest shows I've ever been in, like the experience of crafting the show, just because of that. It was so much fun and no hassle, really. Like, truly ideal.
I think speaks a lot to the entire process because it could easily have not been fun. It could have been a huge technological hassle. You don't have to go anywhere, which to some people is great, but to other people, how do you enter a rehearsal process being focused when you just have to move from the couch to across the room and open up your screen or something? So that's fantastic. So all of you together, somehow created that, which is really cool. Pat, I don't know that I have ever seen anyone so convincingly play a drunk before. And I know that knowing you personally, that you do enjoy a drink, but you're not a drunk. So,
right. Anymore. or any less, really, but no, yeah, that was a lot of fun to do. And also kind of it helped with the language too, because if I messed something up, it was just because I was drunk, not because I didn't know what I was doing.
Now, I do think that acting drunk is one of the hardest things you can do, and I'm just now from like actor nerdy perspective, I'm just curious how you approach that, because truly it was so convincing.
Oh, thank you. I really was just trying to kind of make it as overblown and funny as possible. I mean, we've probably all seen people somewhat like that to some degree or another, right? And I was just kind of taking stuff that I've actually seen from hanging around with a bunch of nutty drunks throughout my life and kind of synthesizing it. There was also a lot of homage to Dudley Moore there from the movie Arthur, if you've ever seen that. Not so much Arthur 2, don't bother with that one, but that was definitely an inspiration for that. And it was just fun.
So be thy bed, I want, and bring forth brave brood.
Oh, master, I will kill this man, his daughter and I, will be king and queen, and Trinculo and thyself shall be viceroys. Yeah? Dost thou like the plot, Trinculo?
Excellent.
All right, well, I'm sorry that I beat thee, but you keep a good tongue in thy head.
Within this half hour he be asleep. Wilt thou destroy him then?
Aye, on my honor.
This will I tell my master.
Oh, thou makest me merry. I'm full of pleasure. Oh, come, let us be jocund. Will you troll the cat you taught me but while?
Oh, yeah. Well, as thy request, monster, I will. Come, Trinculo, let us sing. I see a little silhouette of a cat. Scaramouche, Scaramouche, will you ride a flamingo?
That's not the tune.
Thunderbolts and lightning, very, very frightening me.
Galileo! Galileo! What is the same?
Tis the tune of our catch, played by the picture of nobody.
If thou beest the man, show thyself. If thou beest the devil, just take us as thou list.
Oh, forgive me my sins.
He who dies pays all debts. I defy thee. Mercy upon us.
That's the first time I saw the little dance there. I couldn't never see the screen really when I was performing. So that's awesome. That made me smile.
Would you all dive into some virtual Shakespeare again?
No, just kidding.
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would. This was sort of an inspiration with how far you could go and what you could do to really liven it up and make it fun and accessible. And when you have a cast and creative team that's this wonderful and talented and supportive, like, why the heck not?
Yeah, I think it was like just doing Shakespeare in general for me is like kind of like shake some cobwebs, and I think it was a welcome thing to do in the pandemic, but then to add on top of it, it was I guess it was hard at first to like shrink down. I like to be huge and clowny, and to realize when like looking around isn't as effective as like only looking here to here, like that kind of stuff. And I feel like I would love to do it again because I got a little better at the medium and like using the camera and stuff. So it's like, well, we worked on all that. We did all that work. It'd be cool to like do it again.
Well, maybe there is more Shakespeare in Theater 444's future, or at least something virtual, or maybe we could do some sort of fun devised piece, which I imagine the four of you here would be especially fun to do that with. I don't know, Pam. I'm thinking.
Are we starting a Shakespeare improv troupe
Look
right now?
how well my garments fit upon me. My brother's servants, now they are my men.
But for your conscience.
Aye, sir. Where lies that? I feel not this deity in my bosom. There lies your brother, no better than the earth he lies upon. If he were that which now he's like, dead, whom I, with this obedient steel, can lay to bed forever. We draw together. Do you the like to fall it on Gonzala, and for all the rest, they'll take suggestion as a cat laps milk.
Oh, thy faith, dear friend, shall be my precedent. As thou gottest Milan, I'll come by Naples.
Oh. One stroke shall free thee.
the danger and sends me forth, for else his project dies.
Let us both be sudden.
Oh, preserving! Why are you drawn?
What's the matter? As we sit here securing your repose, even now, we heard a hollow burst of bellowing like bulls.
Lions, rather.
Did it not wake you? It struck mine ear most terribly.
I heard nothing.
Oh, 'twas a din to fright a monster's ear. Surely 'twas the roar of a whole herd of lions.
Heard you this, Gonzalo?
Well, upon my honor, sir, I heard a humming, and that a strange one too, which did awake me. Oh, 'tis best we stand our guard.
Oh, lead off this ground. Let's make further search for my poor son. Lead away.
Beautiful.
Oh boy.
It was fun. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, it was fun to do. I was having a ball in my bedroom. It's just like, it was great.
Well, thank you so much for joining us again tonight to share with us a small glimpse of your experience performing that weekend. I'm glad you did it because all four of you were super fun to watch. And it sounds like your experience was positive, which is also great. I hope you'll all be back to do something again with Theater 444, and that we can do something together because you all seem like fun people, and I only really know Pat. So do come back. Olivia, you're in Rochester, right?
Yes, I am.
So maybe we'll see each other, but Lauralee and Jake, I know you're from here originally, but come back.
I miss the wine trails. I need them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything is possible. Somehow, since Lauralee has been in North Carolina, we've done 2 shows together without ever living in the same state. So,
well, I know that Pam has some Theater 444 announcements to make. So, Pam, are you coming back? There you are.
I'm back. Poof. Greg, tell everybody how you know Pat.
I know. Are we sort of most currently, or are we going back? Oh, winking. Okay. I know Pat because Pat and I are playing nuns in Nonsense Amen.
Oh my goodness, people. I can't even tell you. This is going to be such a fun show. These guys are hilarious. This isn't even like wasn't a planned thing. We just like started putting costumes on and playing, and we couldn't stop. And so they're like, "Oh, we haven't even shaved." So these are some hairy nuns here, but it's going to be great. So June 3rd through 6th, it will be live streaming from Fatzinger Hall. Tickets are already on sale on the website. And we're having a good old time already. I mean, we just got started, but it's going to be fun. So that's coming up.
Awesome.
Yay. So I want to thank our patrons who kind of came out this year and took care of us and wrapped their arms around us. We started doing these virtual live feeds on Facebook and kind of sharing and singing. And we started doing it because we were bored and wanted to sing. And what ended up happening was you wrapped your arms around us and helped us so much. And we had this amazing group of patrons that have really taken good care of us this year. And we thank you so much for that. Every little bit does help us to continue to do that work So follow us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Twitter. Are there any other places I'm missing? But make sure you follow us. I know on Facebook they get tricky because they change the rules all the time on Facebook. So make sure you click that follow button or the like button on our page so that that will show up in your stream more. At this point, I know some of the theaters are starting to open, but it's still kind of tricky and it's going to be difficult. So we're going to stay out a little bit longer, at least for June. And we're not planning too far ahead because we're trying to figure out when we can get back to the stage. So it'll be a show by show planning right now. We won't have a season coming out, but Susie, you got to stay tuned with us and keep in touch with us, okay? And then the last thing I really wanted to share with folks is we decided we're going to, I want to highlight the people in my life and in our group's life. Theater people really took a hard hit this year. We really did. I think athletes and artists had the hardest year as far as being able to get back to what we do. We're still the ones that aren't back where we should be. And so I want to highlight why we do theater, why we love it. So I'm going to start a series called Theater People. And if you are a theater person that has worked with us or hasn't worked with us but wants to, send me a photo and a quote. And I'm going to put together a whole series photo album of theater people that are with us and for us. And you don't have to have been an actor, or you could be anything, even an audience member. Send us a picture and a quote about what you love about theater. And I'm just going to start posting those because I think it's important that we remember how important the arts are to us. And I know I couldn't have gotten through this year without the arts and without all these people. So I'd like to make sure that we highlight that. So yeah, send those to our website, through our website, to our email address, and I'll get those posted. I would love to. And if I don't get any, I'm going to start harassing people because I really think it's an important thing that I want to do. So yeah, so we've got Nonsense coming and we're wrapping up the Tempest. Thank you all so much. It's been such a joy having new faces involved and people from all over the country and audience from all over the world. We have, it's been super exciting. So we're looking so forward to what's coming for us.
Thanks, Pam. And thank you, everybody, and good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.